innovation of academic excellence. First of all, I am glad to welcome Dr. Bijuti George, the Principal BAM College, who is presiding over the inaugural function. Welcome, sir. With the utmost respect, let me welcome Professor Dr. Ved Prakash, former chairman of the University Grants Commission. Sir is known to have 41 golden years of professional experience, having adorned various positions including the Chancellor of KIT University, Institution of Eminence, Bhubaneswar, and the Vice President of Dayanand Anglo-Vedic National Management Committee, New Delhi. On behalf of the entire college, let me welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. Vimal Ra, the Project Head and Joint Director, GARD TLC of MHRD. She is a leading edupreneur, known to be the coordinator of the National Resource Center of Chemistry of MHRD and the Deputy Director of the Center of E-Learning. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
With immense pleasure, let me welcome Professor Dr. A.K. Bakshi, the Vice Chancellor, PDM University, Haryana, and the Chairman of GAD TLC of MHRD. Sir has been the Executive Director of Tertiary Education Commission, Mauritius, and Vice Chancellor of UP Rajashri Tandon Open University, Allahabad. He is also regarded as one of the first persons from universities in India to have been selected as a member scientist of 3rd Indian Research Expedition to Antarctica. We welcome you, sir. It's indeed a special privilege and pleasure to welcome Professor Dr. Sabu Thomas, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kerala. He is a professor in polymer science and engineering and a proud recipient of 2 honorary doctorates. He was also awarded the Fulbright Nehru International Education Administrators Award, almost 100 PhDs and 110 publications are there in his credit. Let me warm-heartedly welcome you, sir, to this event. Let me welcome Mr. Abraham J. George, the manager, BAM College, who has always endeavored for the rearing of this institution. Welcome, sir. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. N. Matthews, the coordinator of this FDP. Finally, let me invite all the participants from different institutions to our online faculty development program. I wish that this 2-week program effectuates an innovation in academic excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Rani ma'am. May I now request Dr. Bijuti George, Principal, BAM College, to deliver the presidential address.
Good afternoon, all. Most respected Chief Guest of the Day, Professor Dr. Ved Prakash, former Chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Dr. A.K. Bakshi, Vice Chancellor, PDM University and Chairman of GAD TLC of MHRD, Professor Dr. Sabu Thomas, Honorary Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Dr. Vimal Rao, Project Head in determining the role that India will play globally in the immediate future. The importance of innovative practices in education has been envisaged in the National Education Policy 2020. NEP 2020 recognizes the importance of technology in addressing various societal changes and seeks to promote interdisciplinary research and innovation. As we have understood, this FDP will discuss national education policy in detail, research for academic excellence, emerging trends in education, curriculum design, research publication ethics, etc. are the major areas to be dealt in. All faculties must have clear understanding about these areas as adaptive approach will be the only resort to survive in the changed educational scenario. I expect this endeavor will enrich the participants to have deep knowledge in the innovative practices which enable them to enhance their academic excellence. I am sure that this will in turn enlighten the life of our students. The God Almighty bless every one of us. I wish you all success on behalf of BAM College community. Once again, I greet all participants who joined us for this gracious program. Thank you.
Faculty Development Program is a joint venture by CAT PLC of MSRD and BAM College. With pleasure, may I inform that today we have with us the project head and joint director of CAT PLC, Dr. Viveka. Dear ma'am, I request you to kindly share your introductory remarks and tell us more about CAT PLC.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Most respected Professor Ved Prakash, former chairman UGC. Most respected Professor Sabu Thomas, Vice Chancellor, Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam, Kerala. Most respected Professor A.K. Bakshi, Vice Chancellor, PDM University, Bahadurgarh, and Chairman of our GAT TLC and other centers. Very respected Dr. Biju George, Principal, BM College. Other very eminent academicians and teachers from BM College, Dr. Rani Naya, uh, Dr. Matthews, and other members of organizing committee, and above all, my dear colleagues who have joined as participant in this 2 weeks online FDP on innovative practices for academic excellence. So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you to have joined this program in this difficult phase of Corona. I think we all as teachers have found a silver lining in this dark cloud where we have understood the potential these technologies have and we are ready to learn. And this FDP is another such effort by GIDTLC, and this one is again a unique one where we are having collaboration with another very prestigious institution, and that is Bishop Abraham Memorial College, Kerala. I am thankful to Principal Sir for collaborating and taking our mission further, where we have taken that how the ICT and the ICT empowered pedagogies, these tools can really transform. It's not about the Corona time, but we have to prepare ourselves and bring out the models where we use these tools along with their our subject expertise, and the idea is to enhance the quality of education system in each and every classroom. There are peaks of excellence, but then how these peaks of excellence can help others also, and that way each one of you as participant can make a difference. So you know something, you try to disseminate that further with the, we can have collaborative programs with you, and you also learn those way areas where you are feeling that yes, these are the tools that you want to learn. And this particular FDP, which is themed on innovative practices for academic excellence, uh, I am thankful to Professor Ved Prakash who has kindly consented for delivering this inaugural address today, where he will be enlightening us on the theme. And also I am thankful to Professor Sabu Thomas and Professor Bakshi to taking this further. And we will be listening to stalwarts, including them, as well as many other resource person. And I'm thankful to each one of you for this program. I like to share my presentation, and I hope it is visible because this platform I am slightly not comfortable. Is my screen visible, sir? Yeah. So I welcome you all on behalf of University of Delhi and my college SGTB Khalsa College, where Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center, which is a center of Ministry of Education, is located. And this center is a prestigious center under the scheme Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching. And at our college level, we are seeking blessings from Guru Angad Dev Ji, the second of the 10 Sikh Gurus. And we have a state of art training facilities. And from last 4 years, we have been training teachers in digital skills, digital pedagogies, and also how the open educational resources and e-content development can be done with a professional output. But we also explored that how much technology can make the reach in a multiplier effect in this corona time. Since 2016, when we started training hands-on, and we also reached to some of the areas in our country and some premier institutions, we could touch 8,000 teachers in last 4 years. But since 9th April 2020, I am happy to share that we have conducted more than 75 programs, more than 42,000 teachers, and this is the 36th FDP that we are starting today. This center was inaugurated on 1st July 2016 by the then Honorable HRD Minister Smriti Jubin Irani. So, few words from her on the inaugural.
आज मैं विशेष रूप से बधाई देती हूँ प्रोफेसर बख्शी को, विमल जी को, जिन्होंने बहुत मेहनत करके इस सेंटर को जीवित रूप में आपके सामने प्रस्तुत किया। ये टीचर की ललक उसके उत्साह का उदाहरण है कि भारत सरकार ने दिसंबर 2014 को माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के हाथों पंडित मदन मोहन मालवीय नेशनल मिशन को राष्ट्र के सामने प्रस्तुत किया। लेकिन उसमें हमने एक शर्त रखी कि जो भी इस प्रोजेक्ट से जुड़े वो स्वयं एक अनोखा टीचिंग लर्निंग का प्रस्ताव लेकर आए, और उस प्रस्ताव में जो अनोखा हो अथवा वो प्रस्ताव अगर शिक्षकों के माध्यम से आए तो विशेष रूप से हमारा सहयोग ऐसे प्रोत्साहित शिक्षकों को जो दूरगामी परिणाम देख सकते हैं, ऐसे शिक्षकों को समर्थन करने का हमारा प्रयास रहे।
So at that time, the objective of this center was, which is being realized much more in this difficult corona time, is that we propose to conduct faculty empowerment workshop by integrating ICT skills, pedagogy, and their subject specific requirement, and also help them develop some open educational resources which can be used by other teachers. And that concept we have now put up in a proper form, which is teachers e-kit. And also that's why we are calling as faculty empowerment workshops rather than the other nomenclatures which are going. And to take these activities at ground level, we are having guidance from Professor A.K. Bakshi, a visionary and leader in this field. As chairman, we have other eminent academicians, Professor Bhanumurthy, Professor N.K. Chadda, Professor Aditya Bhattacharya, Dr. R.P. Singh, and myself and my principal, Dr. Jaswinder Singh. We are the executive heads. And I welcome you on behalf of each one of them, especially extending a warm welcome on behalf of Dr. Jaswinder Singh, who will be joining you in the valedictory event. This journey actually started when we realized, working at the ground level, the e-learning project given by UGC, and there the leadership was Professor Ved Prakash, who was visionary and to evolve the entire EPG Pathshala project. And we, out of the 77 subjects we started at the national level at UGC, out of these 77 subjects at our college, six of PIs and co-PIs joined hands, and very uniquely, rather than outsourcing the content production, basically it is not only about the academic, it is also about the technical and the production. So rather than outsourcing it and not knowing what is being done at the technical end, we decided that we will have our own studio, we'll have our own technical team, and we took the responsibility till the end production, till the content gets uploaded. And now this model is being appreciated and replicated across the country, because we were the front runners to complete these projects in record time in 2016 by completing 89 courses, each paper having 35 to 40 module, and each module having 4 quadrant. So I'm talking about more than 3,500 modules in this project itself, and all of these along with all the other subjects are so many modules are available for all of you to use in the blended learning form in your own classroom. It's not that the entire paper, but even if one module is useful in your classroom teaching, you should be using and then exploring the best potential and taking it into the flipped classroom model, which will be discussed in detail in this FTP. Out of these 89 courses, when Government of India came out with SWAYAM portal, the first phase of SWAYAM, we contributed 42 MOOCs out of the 63 PG level MOOCs which were rolled out in this first phase. And all these are also available for you to use in your own context, as either as supplementary material for your students or inside your classroom teaching for the blended learning. I'm also happy to share that we have also co-designed the faculty induction program, a flagship program of Government of India. Now it is mandatory for every new inductee in the higher education to undergo either a faculty induction program from Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya centers like ours, or from UGC HRDCs. Even UGC HRDCs, the orientation program, there was no proper content framework initially. They were meeting some the but varying, and now that also has proper framework, and some content has been taken from this part as well. So I'm really thankful to Ministry of Education for giving us these opportunities and contributing our bit and putting my college name on this very important document. I'm also thankful for giving us this award of National Resource Center of Chemistry to Ministry of Education, whereby we have now the mandate of conducting ARPIT program, the MOOCs for teacher training. ARPIT stands for Annual Refresher Program in Teaching. And for 3 times in a row, it is not the online refresher program starting in the Corona time. Government of India has already started in 2018 when first series of ARPIT was rolled out. And I am happy to share that out of the 42 courses in this category of ARPIT courses, which were rolled out in last year, there were 12,485 candidates. This is just last week I got the statistics, and these are the number of participants who have given exam. Enrollments were more than 1 lakh overall, and out of these 42 courses, I am happy to share that our course chemistry, in terms of number of candidates, is on the top with 1966 participants appeared for the examination, and 97% of them have qualified that. And this teacher kit also, all of you can participate, whatever best area you think that this is my subject and this topic where I know the best, then please you can contribute towards making a good open education resource and help your fellow colleagues from different parts of country, where it will be acknowledged and published in your name. And this has been modified in the light of NEP 2020, where the use of ICT has been put up in more integrated way, and also the flipped classroom and Bloom's taxonomy have been exploited. So I keep on conducting workshops of this. So those who are interested, they can join in that program as well. So in the Corona times, now we have actually gone into online and various activities we are doing. And I once again welcome all of you in this 2 week online faculty development program. And I'm thankful to all the resource persons for agreeing to be part of this program and taking this mission further, that how whatever we know, we can share it with our fellow colleagues, and in the process, we also learn. So I will say it is a 2 weeks online journey of core learning. We will also learn with you, and you will also, because ultimately, as teachers, we have to also imbibe in our students the lifelong learning spirit. And unless or until we follow, we will not be able to. So, with these words, I once again welcome each one of you. But one information I will like to tell, that certificate of successful completion will with grades will be given, and that will be given only after 50% and above, and the details will be shared to you by the coordinator, Dr. Rani, and that will be based on attendance as well as assignment, quizzes and projects. If it is not fulfilled, then only the certificate of participation will be given. So with these words, I stop here, and once again I am very thankful to the, I'm just how to just stop the share in this. Has it been stopped? Yeah, okay. So this is slightly a new platform I have been not using, and there are going to be very exciting sessions which will be making some efforts towards putting all of us into innovative practices for academic excellence. So let's together try to learn these things. I'm sure from each and every resource person will try to learn something good and try to be innovative and put up in place in our own spaces of professional requirements. And overall, the idea is to how to make our country progress with our education system. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring words. This online FDP is the first of its kind initiated by BAM IQAC. We feel extremely honored to have Professor Dr. Ved Prakash, former chairman of UGC, to inaugurate this program. With due respect, may I now request Dr. Ved Prakash to deliver the inaugural address.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. My esteemed friends and colleagues, Professor A.K. Bakshi, Professor Sabu Thomas, Dr. George, Principal of BM College, Dr. Vimal Rar, Dr. Rani, who is the coordinator of this program, and dear participants. Very good afternoon to all of you. I'm very pleased to be with you this afternoon when we are launching this 2-week faculty development program on innovative practices for academic excellence. I'm quite enamored by the title which is chosen by Dr. Rani or by the BM College or collectively by Dr. Vimal Rar and Dr. George of the BM College. So I would like to focus primarily on quality and parity of standards because you are going to discuss multiple innovative practices for academic excellence. I would like to focus only on one innovative practice which we have not been experiencing and which is the need of the hour. To begin with, I would like to say that education, teaching, and learning cannot remain stagnant. They are a difficult and ever evolving processes. I would like to focus on an innovative practice which we have not been experiencing in our institutions and which is the need of the hour. And therefore, in my inaugural address, I will focus only on two aspects of excellence. One is the quality, and another one is the parity of standards. And I was talking that education, teaching, and learning cannot remain stagnant, but they are difficult and ever evolving processes, which is why this sector suffers from four kinds of crises. One is the crisis of identity in terms of quality, which is the topic that you have chosen for this 2-week faculty development program. Another one is the crisis of leadership. The third one is the crisis of governance, and the fourth one is the crisis of resources. So I'm going to pick up only the first one, which deals with the crisis of identity for the institutions. Now the question arises, what kind of universities do we need? What kind of institutions do we need? We need institutions wherein we offer programs that have futuristic orientations. We need universities where our programs are rated the best in the world. We need universities where our programs address local, regional, national, and global concerns. We need universities wherein we train young minds and promote their engagement with their social milieu so that they remain constantly in touch with their roots. We need universities where students and teachers engage themselves not only in discourses relating to their areas of specialization, but also on issues of historical and contemporary significance. We need universities wherein improved academic excellence must be the goal of every department and every constituent of the institution. We need universities wherein most scientific advancements do take place. And we need universities where we individually and collectively strive for excellence in teaching and learning, excellence in research and innovation, and excellence in engagement. So I'm going to focus on an important issue, as I had said earlier, which is of paramount significance. It is about benchmarking of learning outcomes, which relates to both quality and parity of standards. How come that the pass outs of the same program from different institutions perform differently, or they are looked at from a different perspective by the market forces? One has graduated with a BSc honors degree in physics from Madras Christian College. Another one has graduated from St. Stephen College, Delhi. The third one has graduated from Presidency College. The fourth one has graduated from BM College, and like many more. But what we find, while they are exposed to similar kind of programs, and particularly in a university like Mahatma Gandhi University Kottayam, which is an affiliated university, and I do believe that BM College is affiliated with MGM University Kottayam. So how come that the pass outs are different in terms of acquisition of competencies and skills in the same area of specialization? Most of the institutions record students' progress either in the form of letter grades. You can have A, B, C, D, E, F, or you can have the cumulative grade point average in terms of international numericals, or you record the students' progress in terms of numerical marks, 70%, 80%, 85%. Although they have been in practice for a very long period, But the fact remains that neither of the two reflects the real potential of individual students. They do not provide authentic answers to questions like what all a student knows, what does a student understand, and what all that a student can perform after successful completion of a 3-year or a 4-year undergraduate program. Now, subject-specific benchmarking of learning outcomes is a technique which can provide more accurate answers to such questions. And it is precisely for this reason that benchmarking is emerging as a better means for quality enhancement than the existing one that are in vogue for a while. And this is the most opportune time to switch over to subject-specific benchmarking of learning outcomes, especially when the National Education Policy 2020 has unequivocally recommended the development of the National Higher Education Qualification Framework, which we don't have. Hopefully, this would be the responsibility of the General Education Council, which is going to be one of the verticals of the Higher Education Commission of India, which will have the responsibility of developing the National Higher Education Qualification Framework. Let me give you a very brief background about where does this term benchmarking has come from. Like many terms, we have borrowed in education, for instance, taxonomy, which is the hierarchical study of the plant kingdom, but we have borrowed it in educational evaluation, and we talk about Bloom's taxonomy, we talk about Krathwohl taxonomy. So the term benchmarking in education is borrowed from the industry, where it has been widely used as a part of competitive strategies to make reasonable advantages across the whole of industry. It has a long and interesting history. I'm not going to go into it, but it got institutionalized in early 70s when Xerox company faced fierce competition from its rivals in Japan. It was during that period that Xerox went on a mission to outrank its rivals by improving the operational efficiencies and cutting down the cost of their product. And since then, benchmarking has undergone numerous transformations. In mid-80s, benchmarking experienced a phenomenal growth, and soon it became a quality control mechanism on a worldwide scale. Now, how did we embrace it in education actually? In early 90s, what happened when benchmarking was seen as a mechanism for quality assurance and quality enhancement? Some educational experts in the Western world, they considered experimenting with it in higher education, despite reservations from certain quarters. What were those quarters? They were teachers like us only. A group of experts was quite skeptical actually about its success in education. They thought that something that has succeeded in the industry would not necessarily work in education, as both are distinctly different in their role and functions. But their skepticism proved to be unfounded, and benchmarking of learning outcomes was swiftly adopted in some selected universities of the Western world, and thereafter it gradually made inroads in many universities across the globe. It has acquired now wider stakes in the university system and shown results insofar as qualitative improvement of higher education is concerned, and which is why I'm focusing on these aspects today. You can have internal benchmarking, you can have external benchmarking, wherein you can identify certain key parameters of your institutions and try to compare them with the parameters of other sister institutions. You can also do it collaboratively. I mean, 2-3 institutions can come together, and teachers teaching different subjects, they can collectively do the benchmarking of the learning outcomes in their respective areas. So it has, the point that I'm trying to make is that it has acquired prominence across the globe, and it is now emerging as a means of making the comparison of performance with the end goal of setting up best practices. So apart from documenting the progress of individual students in a more authentic manner, benchmarking has got remarkable diagnostic value. We may have Professor Sabu Thomas is the Vice Chancellor. He will pass the syllabus of a particular subject in the academic council of the university, get it approved by the executive council, and then it is passed on to all the colleges which are affiliated with it. But how Professor Sabu Thomas is going to teach chemistry to the master's level students in the university department, what kind of demonstrations he is showing to the teacher, to the students, what kind of examples he is putting forward, what are the pedagogical processes that he is going to use for effective transaction of that curriculum, and then what kind of project work would he assign to his students, what kind of home assignments is he going to do. There comes the problem actually, and which is why we have so much of variation amongst the students passing out with the same degree from a particular university from different institutions. So if we are going to enumerate all these things in the form of expected learning outcomes, what kind of experiments a teacher is expected to perform, what kind of demonstrations is he expected to perform, what kind of projects he would ask his students to submit with a view to ascertaining whether they have acquired those skills or not. If we enumerate them, if we enlist them, then the wide variations which we have been experiencing across the institutions could be minimized to a large extent. Now, these subject-specific quality standards provide a key to building an outcome-based approach to curriculum development, the modality of its transaction, and the assessment of students for ensuring qualitative teaching and learning standards. The process of benchmarking requires broader coverage of the subject, seeking answers to questions wherein each question includes several topics, which when covered provides comprehensive assessment of the acquisition of different competencies and skills. Universities need to adopt benchmarking as a tool to bring about qualitative improvement, and that is the need of the hour. But it is to be understood that the system with which specialists would be writing the subject statements, it might vary from one subject to another subject. If you develop a prototype in physics, it doesn't mean that that prototype can be used as it is in chemistry and as it is in geology and botany or in humanities and social sciences. Therefore, the subject statements in the form of learning outcomes might
Hello, Dr. Rani. I think Professor Ved Prakash sir's audio is muted. Sir, you'll have to unmute yourself, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
Yeah, now it's audible.
Now I'm coming to the specificities of this. Benchmarking of subject-specific learning outcomes would require a clear-cut breakup of all curricular, pedagogical, and assessment activities. More specifically, it would first require the introduction of the subject and the aim of studying that subject. If Professor Thomas is going to teach me biochemistry, he should tell me first, why should I study biochemistry? What would be the scope of the course that he is going to transact? Secondly, It requires detailing of the scope of the subject and a specification of expected cognitive and non-cognitive learning outcomes in terms of statements. Thirdly, it would require the listing of pedagogies and pedagogical supports required for classroom processes. What kind of teaching aids would be required? What kind of charts would be required? Then experiments, demonstrations, audio video support, etc. And fourthly, it requires mentioning of tasks to be performed by the students in the form of home assignments, in the form of project work, in the form of group activities, in the form of quizzes, etc., for which you can make use of the ICT tools to a great extent. And fifthly, it requires a specification of techniques and criteria to be employed for assessment of students' performance and documentation of levels of attainments in terms of threshold graduates, typical graduates, and outstanding graduates. Now, one of the biggest advantages of this exercise, I'm reiterating once again, is that on the one hand, it lets every teacher know about his or her role and accountability. Whether the teacher is teaching in a university department or the teacher is teaching in a college department. And on the other hand, it alerts students about their obligations to perform. They know it in advance what kind of assignments they have to submit. They know it in advance that what is all that would be required to outrank their counterparts, to attain the threshold level of performance, to attain the outstanding level of performance. So the underlying assumption in a subject specific benchmarking for quality and standards are that students must know why are they studying a particular subject, what is the philosophy of that subject. We do not teach the philosophy of the subject to the students when we transact our own syllabus. Many a time, we ourselves do not understand enough the philosophy of our own area of studies. What subject specialists think is important for the students to learn? I mean, you may be having 15 chapters, you may be having 16 chapters, but are all of them important? Or you would like to concentrate more on the basics and then leave rest for the students to learn all by themselves? Then what points of view they tend to emphasize during guided learning, during inter-learner learning, and during self-learning? And what they feel the limitations and future of the subject are, and how are they going to be assessed on multiple criteria, and how their performance would be documented. So it is the responsibility of the teachers to let all this knowledge pass to their students before the commencement of the program. We should not simply walk into the classroom and start teaching molecular rearrangement and atomic structure and periodic table without letting them know as to why should they study it, what would be the scope, and what would be our expectations from them. So this exercise needs to be carried out by individual departments at the university level and made available to all the teachers teaching in their affiliated colleges, if they are affiliating universities like the Mahatma Gandhi University Kottayam is. It would bring about qualitative improvement in teaching and learning, besides addressing issues of equality and parity of standards across the institutions. I'm not saying, I'm not claiming that it will completely remove the disparities that exist in our products, but to a large extent, it will help us bridge up the kinds of gaps that we visualize, the kinds of inequalities that we see. So subject-specific benchmarking of learning outcomes is a necessity in a diverse system where parity of standards remains a major concern. And the task can be accomplished by the subject specialists who are good both in subject and in pedagogy and assessment. Universities can make a beginning in one or two subjects in the form of a pilot project, either individually or collaboratively. And once the benchmark matrix is finalized in a particular subject, it can be fine-tuned and used as a template for similar exercise in other subjects as well. There is no denying that subject-specific benchmarking is going to play a very vital role in serving a dual purpose of improving the quality of teaching and learning and curtailing the widespread disparity of academic standards across the institutions. This needs to be institutionalized first at the university level and in school education thereafter. And the sooner we do it, the better it would be. I would like to leave before making, but before that, I would like to make an earnest request to all of you. If some of you, under the dynamic leadership of Professor Thomas, can undertake this activity in one or two areas of study at the post.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Sir, you are not
Sir, your
audible.
audio is muted. You'll have to unmute.
I don't do. Anyway, I was making a request that if this exercise can be undertaken, because you have chosen the topic innovative practices for academic excellence. So I am suggesting that this could be undertaken as one of the innovative practices in teaching and learning. And if some teachers can join hands together across the institutions and undertake this exercise under the dynamic leadership of people like Professor Bakshi and Professor Sabu Thomas, I think we would be doing a better service to our institutions and to our children. I'm not claiming that it will completely eradicate the disparity that exists. But once again, even at the sake of repetition, I would like to submit that it is going to bridge up the kinds of gaps that we see insofar as academic standards across the institutions are concerned. So let us try to do it. I would be more than happy, to associate myself in such an exercise, should you decide to undertake it. With this, let me express my sincere thanks to Dr. George, Professor Thomas, Professor Bakshi, Dr. Vimal, Rani, and the other members of the BM College for giving me this opportunity to inaugurate this program. I hope that you are going to learn a great deal. They are going to share their expertise. Professor Bakshi and Dr. Vimal have done excellent, remarkable job at the national level. And this would be a wonderful opportunity for all of you to pick up some newer things which are going to make your task easier in your classroom teaching and learning. With these, once again, thank you very much to everyone, and over to the host now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ved Prakash sir, for enlightening us about the major responsibilities we as teachers have to shoulder. We promise you, sir, we shall indeed shoulder those responsibilities and try our best to bridge the disparities in education. Today's inaugural session is unique and remarkable, for we have two eminent guests here, the Vice Chancellor of PDM University, Haryana, and the Vice Chancellor of Mahatma Gandhi University, Kottayam. Let me first invite Professor Dr. A.K. Bakshi, the Vice Chancellor of PDM University, Haryana, who also serves as the Chairman of CAD TLC, to address this online gathering.
Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this inaugural event. Esteemed Professor Ved Prakash ji, Professor Sabu Thomas ji, Dr. Vimal Rar, Dr. Biju T. George, Principal of BAM College, Dr. Rani R. Nair, Dr. Abraham J. George, and last but not the least, dear participants from across the country. I'm indeed very pleased to be a part of this inaugural event of this 2-week faculty development program being jointly organized by BAM College and Guru Angad Dev Teaching Learning Center of Ministry of Human Resource Development. You know, if you look at the theme of this faculty development program, it is innovative practices for academic excellence. So there are a few hidden things here that we are still not able to achieve academic excellence as far as our higher education goes. And therefore, we need to adopt or embrace new innovative practices. By innovative practice, I mean a practice with a new mindset or a new method with a value addition. That is how I take as an innovative practice. But then one has to be very clear about what, after all, we need from higher education. You all will agree that India has one of the largest system of higher education in the world. If we look at our population, there is about less than 50% of the population with age group of 25 years or less. And if we look at 35 years or less, India has about 65% of the population with age below 35. So this is an immense demographic advantage or dividend for us. How India can become an engine of growth for higher education, this to a great extent depends upon the quality of our education. Because, you know, if we are not able to do this, or if we are not able to encash on this demographic dividend or advantage, we will be losing an important opportunity. Therefore, one needs to adopt innovative practices for academic excellence. You know, if you look at our practices already, and if you look at the new education policy document, some concerns have already been expressed. We need to have very light curricula, but modern curricula, because knowledge in all disciplines is growing very, very fast. We need to have in curricula only core essentials so that there is ample time for thinking amongst the students. So how to do this? Earlier, revising syllabi or curricula used to decade years and years. But now, with the help of technology, all this can be done very, very fast. And we need to do all this regularly. Maybe after every 3 years, changes need to be brought about. Secondly, the most important component in education is teaching and learning. Our teaching and learning has been mainly focused on rote learning and scoring high marks. And you will all agree that this rote learning is not a sustainable learning. Students learn, appear in the exams, and then they forget. What is the use? One may ask the question, after all, why do we teach our students? Therefore, in teaching and learning also, we need to shift our focus. We need to shift our focus on, thinking, innovation, and creativity amongst the students. Earlier, we could not do because our chalk and talk method, which we are following in teaching, that mainly focuses on lower order thinking skills like remembering, understanding, and applying. And there is no time for higher order thinking skills. But with technology, one can embrace new pedagogies like blended learning, like flipped classroom, and integrating it with Bloom's taxonomy, one can really focus on the highest order thinking skill, that is creativity. We need to work on that. It may be a challenge, but if we will not do it, we will be moving in the same cycle, because we should not forget that without creativity, there can be no progress. We are just teaching what everybody has done, and we are not coming out with new ideas, and we are not the real leaders. We are only the followers. That should not happen. So in teaching and learning, new pedagogies should be embraced. This is another thing. This is a new practice which we'll have to follow, and we need to train our teachers. And then the third component is assessment. Assessment traditionally has been on rote learning and testing, memory, knowledge, etc. That should not be. Once we adopt flipped learning, our focus shifts, and then our assessment should also accordingly shift. Because it is said assessment drives learning. The way we assess our students will start learning in that way. Therefore, what I really want to tell you is that we will have to change the way we have been imparting education. It may be difficult, but until and unless we make a breakthrough in this, we will not be able to achieve anything. This is really the need of the hour. And prudence demands that an initiation should be taken in this regard as early as possible. One thing we should remember, we cannot expect gains overnight. Because this innovation and creativity is something which needs to be nurtured from childhood, so that you become an out-of-box thinker. So it's not that easy, but then this should be done if we have to really achieve success and academic excellence. And one more thing which I would like to mention here is that the focus of entire education system is the teacher. we need to pay a lot of attention to the professional development of the teachers. The way knowledge is growing, the way technology is changing, professional development needs to be given topmost priority. Because if teachers have learned something 15, 20, 30 years back, and if they have not been professionally developed, we will not be able to achieve anything. One needs to keep it in mind that professional development is a journey and not a destination. We should get away with this idea that you have to do one refresher or one orientation course. That is just technically to get promotion. As a matter of fact, refresher courses and such orientation courses should become a regular feature. Every teacher may have to do it once in 3 years so that they know what all new is happening on the academic front. And in this regard also, technology is going to play a big important role. RPIT programs have been launched, and online refresher and technical courses, all these are possible. So these are the new ways of doing the things. And one will have to do. And please remember, our new education policy says our gross enrollment ratio should be 50% by 2035. At present, it is about 27%. How within the next few years we will be able to almost double it? We cannot keep on opening new universities or colleges. Very difficult, needs money, infrastructure, competent faculty. Again, technology will come here. So we need to be, embracing e-learning, MOOCs, etc., and do that. And please remember, by the time all these things are over, still new technologies will come. ICT will give way to our, these disruptive technologies will come. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, and then things will change further. And then slowly we will enter an era of education 4.0 with a focus on personalized learning. So, technology is progressing very, very fast. Our methods of teaching and learning should change accordingly. And all this is possible only if we, develop our teachers regularly, tell them what all new is happening so that, present day students are already tech savvy. Only thing is teachers need to be trained. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want to say is that this is a very relevant theme of the faculty development program. What are going to be the innovative practices for academic excellence? And you have to have, thinking of what all new can be done so that ultimately we are able to achieve academic excellence. We need to, improve our research quality. Even new education policy has expressed concern that we need to create a culture of research culture in the country. We need to enhance research capacity. How will we, create a culture of research until unless, we produce our youngsters who are research minded, who can think new, and that cannot come overnight. So education has, teaching learning has an important role to play, because good teaching learning not only produces good teachers, but it also produces good researchers for the future, because they lay down the strong foundation. So I'm very sure that in this faculty development program, as I can see, there are going to be many, eminent resource persons who will be speaking on different aspects of higher education and how, embracing those aspects, we can achieve academic excellence. So I wish this faculty development program a huge success, and I'm very sure that this will make the participants think what all they need to prepare themselves for the coming years if they really want to excel. And maybe later on in my keynote address also, I will talk about how you as an individual teacher can achieve academic excellence in India in the 21st century. So I hope to see you later on after the inaugural event. Thank you very much, and all the best for this faculty development program. Thank you.
Thank you, Bakshi sir, for igniting our minds to prepare and equip ourselves to teach the tech-savvy generation 4.0. We shall be looking forward to your next session, sir. And now, may I request Professor Dr. Sabu Thomas, Vice Chancellor of MG University, Kerala, to share a few words.
Very good evening. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're audible and visible too.
Excellent, excellent. Professor Ved Prakash, Professor Bakshi, Vice Chancellor of EDM University, Dr. George, Dr. Singh, Dr. Rag, faculty members, my dear friends. I'm extremely happy that the college is organizing a fantastic FDP program. That is 2 weeks program. You know, I have lots of fascination for FDP. I always share this experience, you know. When I went to United States as a Fulbright fellow for a short period, I went to Pennsylvania State University, UPenn, in Philadelphia. You know, UPenn is always ranked within 25, within 30, all the time. And I asked the president of the university, what is the secret of your success? You know what he said? Dr. Thomas, the secret is we have a continuous dynamic FDP at the campus. He took me to the FDP room. And he said, when a new faculty member joins the UPenn, he or she is given a continuous training, how to give an effective class, how to take a MOOC program, how to set up good question paper, how to value a question paper, how to write a good high impact paper, how to submit a project, continuously given. And they know how to attract the faculties to this FDP program. Therefore, I have very strong confidence in FDP. And when you join as a faculty, you know, it's very important that you have to be an excellent teacher. You know, you all have to work extremely hard to motivate the students. Wherever you can use technology, use technology. Technology for teaching, technology for learning, technology for evaluation. Wherever you can use technology, I request the faculty members use the technology. Very, very important. Use a blended model. You know, after COVID, I'm requesting my colleagues use a 70-30 blended model, offline model, offline and online model. You flip the class sometime. Make the classes more interactive rather than a monologue. You know, make it discuss with the faculty members, students. And my teachers in the campus, you know, when they give 1 hour lecture, 45 minutes they give a lecture, then 15 minutes they interact with the students, discuss with them, give them assignments. Therefore, it's very important that we have to really give excellent training to the teachers, you know, in teaching, learning, and evaluation. And also our curriculum should be completely outcome-based. Very, very important. And the teachers have to testify whether the students are able to achieve the required objectives laid on the program. And when you are a teacher, another important duty of you have to be an excellent researcher. You have to submit large number of proposals, get funding for the program, try to publish good quality papers, high impact journals, never publish in predatory journals. I know many colleges, you know what they do, they start their own journal and they publish in their own journal. That's not a good practice. High ranking journals you have to publish, bring lots of funding to the university. I remember when I joined in the campus, the then Vice Chancellor told me, Professor Anandamurthy from Karnataka, he asked me a question. Dr. Thomas, we cannot give you anything. We cannot give you a space to sit for a couple of weeks because university was just coming up. And we all had to work extremely hard. Now my university is number 30 in the country. And we are now internationally ranked. We are now, 713 by Times ranking internationally. And I could get 30 crores of funding from India and abroad. So I request, you know, there's a lot of funding in this country you have to explore. And in the FDP program, you have to teach them how to write good projects, how to write a very good paper. So all these things have to be taught very well. And I also request that in the FDP program, you also have to teach them how to do good consultancy. My faculty members are consultant to many companies, even some are consultant to many companies abroad. And we also get a lot of funding through consultancy. And you also have to be extremely active, disseminating the knowledge to the public. We should spend some time with the public. We should spend some time, with the local community. We have to do something for the local community. I'm sure if you can do that, this country will progress. If we can mold our young people, youngsters, and this country will excel, because we have such a strong young population in this country. So this is our duty to mold the young people. So I request everyone to be extremely active. We teachers have to be extremely active. We have to be extremely committed. And if you do that, I'm sure we can really excel. I just looked at the distinguished, highly cited scientists from India and China. China, if you look at the highly cited scientists, they are very close to 500 people. India has only 10 people, highly cited scientists. So there's a big difference between China and India. If you look at the 1960, 70, 80, when I was a PhD student at the Indian Institute of Technology, Professor Jain used to come to IIT Kharagpur to do experiments. Now look at China where they stand. Look at ACS publication, look at Nature, look at Science. Chinese people publish quite a lot. So we have to really work extremely hard. So I request that the faculty development program should be very vibrant. I request the participants to be very active, learn something from this FDP, and assimilate what you learn from this to your colleagues, and make our academic program extremely strong. And I wish you all the best. And I'm happy that the college is doing a very good job. I have been to your college several times. This is a college in a rural area. It is coming up. And my university is very happy to give you all the support. This is also partly our college. This college comes under our university, and we are very happy to give you all the support. Whenever there is a faculty coming to our university, I am very pleased to send them. We get Nobel laureates in the campus. We need distinguished faculties in the campus. Now we arrange all the lectures online. So I'm very happy to connect you with your college, and wish you good luck, and wish you all the best, the principal, the management, the teachers, and the students. And all the best for the participants. Thank you so much, and wish all success.
Thank you, sir, for invoking us about the importance of integrating blended learning in our educational system, and also for inspiring us to pursue research projects and to commit ourselves to the noble cause of educating students. Thank you once again, sir. We look forward to your next session tomorrow at 6 p.m. And dear participants, we shall also be listening to our other guest of eminence, Dr. Bakshi, today at 4:30. Next, may I invite Mr. Abraham J. George, manager of BAM College, to felicitate the online FDP.
It gives me great pleasure to participate in this inaugural session of the Faculty Development Program on the Innovative Practices for Academic Excellence. I would like to felicitate everyone who made this program possible, especially our IQAC coordinator, Dr. Rani Nair, and the team member, Professor Ens Matthews, along with many others who have been involved in this program. Teachers are the primary stakeholders in the effort of improving the quality of education. Enabling teachers with regular professional development, especially in today's world with rapid advances in technology, is very essential to shape our future generation. My exposure to many universities in the United States have shown me that our colleges need to provide better teaching learning opportunities to our teachers. And I'm sure that this GATT-TLC of MHRD will help us to achieve the goal of offering regular development to our faculty. The mission of our college is to impart world-class education of the highest standard, to grow and mature our students to become well-educated, learned, self-confident, knowledgeable, capable, responsible, reliable, employable, morally upright, and caring young adults to become successful in life, to serve the community and the country. We take pride in the fact that a small rural college like ours understood many years ago the importance of ITC, that we started our DEE program, Digital Empowerment of Education, Our departments are connected to our centralized server computer via optical fiber cable. We offer email on our own domain and Microsoft 365 application free of cost to all of our students and faculty. In fact, we were one of the first colleges to start online education through Microsoft Teams application in MG University and in Kerala. Through our portal for online education, we offer various courses as well. Now to share a few more innovative activities we do in our campus. As an innovative campus, we use solar energy with energy storage based microgrid to reduce power interruption and dependence on fossil fuels and are moving in the direction of being carbon neutral. We conserve groundwater by harvesting rainwater and have around 4.5 lakh of rainwater storage capacity. Our beautiful, innovative campus of over 20 acres offers a very calm and quiet environment for our students. I wish this FDP program all success and hope that we will make this a recurring program to make our teachers better equipped to teach our young students. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And now it's time to express our words of gratitude to I invite Mr. N. Matthews, coordinator of this FDP, to express thanks to all present here.
Respected dignitaries and dear participants, a warm greeting to all. We are extremely happy about conducting this 2-week multidisciplinary online national level FDP and are thankful to GAD-TLC for giving us this opportunity. We would like to thank our chief guest, Professor Dr. Ved Prakash, former chairman of UGC, for honoring this function with his inspirational thoughts and inaugurating this program. Today, we have among us two eminent guests, Professor Dr. A.K. Bakshi, Vice Chancellor, PDM University, Haryana, and Chairman GAD TLC of MHRD, and Dr. Sabu Thomas, VC of MG University, Kottayam. Professor Dr. A.K. Bakshi will be handling the next session on achieving academic excellence in 21st century opportunities and challenges. And Dr. Sabu Thomas will be handling tomorrow's second session about research for academic excellence. We thank both of them for their support to this program and are eagerly waiting for the session. Thank you, sirs. Thanks are due to our dear principal, Dr. Biju T. George, for presiding over this function and supporting us for arranging this program. Thank you, sir. Thanks are due to Dr. Vimal Ra, Project Head and Joint Director, GAD TLC. It is with her support and guidance that we could organize this program. Thank you, ma'am, for your support. We also thank our manager, Abraham J. George, who was instrumental in setting up all the ICT facilities required for this program. Thank you, sir, for your timely interventions in making BAM College capable for conducting a prestigious program like this. I also thank the teams at GAD TLC and BAM College who are working behind the screen for the smooth conduct of the program. A special thanks to Sunitha Krishnan, a participant of this FDP, for comparing in this session. We also thank all participants for joining this program and wish them a fruitful experience during the coming 2 weeks of this program. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. The inaugural session has come to its conclusion.